Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kyusho here, and now, before we do get started, let me go ahead and give a brief little review about what's been going on with the Vault Dwellers. Now, Deku, Marcy, and Chloe, they led an assault on Searchlight Airport. With the help of Mr. House's Securitrons, they were able to break through the front line and fight. The boomers, they begin to drop their payloads on the airport, along with firing missiles and even mini nukes out of the vertibird. Deku, he threw himself out in a set of T-60 power armor and began an assault on the ground. Marcy, she was taking on the aspect of the Scorch Beast, and she began to fly overhead and shake the ground with her sonic scream. Now, this drew a lot of attention. The Enclave had their attention on the fighting that was being done on the surface. A robot army and one of their experiments came here today. Then the vault door opened and the Vault Dwellers came prepared for war. The Enclave was not ready for a full-scale assault, let alone one involving robots, nor being split on two fronts. Deku, he faced off against John once again. He pulled on way more of his primal aggression than he has ever done. He wanted a battle. He's never been challenged as a Deathclaw. He's never been challenged at all in the Wasteland. Not this way. He's never dealt with something stronger than him, something bigger than him, something that can hurt him and make him fear for his life. Deku, he was grinning like a madman. There was a part of him that wanted John to kill him. But just as that part of him wanted to be taken down, a bigger part of him wanted to kill John. And John, he was worn down to the point of finally collapsing after taking on quite a bit of damage. He survived a strike from a mini nuke, and even then he kept on fighting, until he broke Deku's back, and Deku, after being healed, was able to crush his skull with a super sledge. Deku thought he killed the man. However, it was only after he was taken to medical and debriefed the next day, the overseers really began to tell these three information. They managed to do quite a bit in their journey. John was still alive. That was one thing. He's currently in a medically induced coma, not only for their safety, but so his body can heal. FEV has been a strange thing they've discovered, not only after seeing these four fight, but with the fact that they don't know the rules to it. Hopefully he can recover. They are expecting damages, but they won't be surprised if there's any. Meanwhile, Deku, he was seen strangely by his family. He was ruthless against John. He was aggressive. And whenever he found out about the Enclave prisoners they took, he was more than willing to gun them all down. However, that was later. Right now, he has a private residence with Marcy and Chloe. The overseers, not only well aware of that relationship now, but even telling them about how members of their vault have been cryogenically frozen by the Enclave for further research and study. And that is a whole other thing. However, that will have to wait for later. Right now, they were trying to get settled back in to life underground. Deku didn't like the quiet. He could listen to the radio and try to sit here and pretend like everything was fine. Marcy didn't like not seeing the sky. And Chloe? She wasn't used to being here. She likes the desert heat, and this place is too cold. Sometimes it feels like she might need to put on a sweater, and sometimes the air tastes stale. She was used to how it tastes outside. But now, without that flavor, it seems strange to her. And with that being said, 1 week has passed. The vault, they are still going around the hustle and bustle of getting things done. The Enclave have been destroyed. They have prisoners who have been interrogated, and at the advice of Izuku Midoriya, they have been killed. They've been tossed into the incinerator, and members of their vault, they've been found in records. The previous expedition teams are all cataloged as experiments in the Enclave's records. Some never lasted long. Others, they did last quite a bit. But at some point, there is a record of an end. The ones who did progress further and further and further into the Enclave genetic research with FEV were inevitably frozen. And this does mean quite a lot. The files they have are extensive. John's is the most extensive the Enclave does have. However, it does not mean much. He was a nearly perfect genetic example of what they wanted out of an FEV subject. All of them were. Izuku had the proper traits in order to take on a Deathclaw aspect. And, well, Mercy, she fit perfectly as well. Had their vault gone on for 20, maybe 40, 60 years, the Enclave would have had more than enough time to perfect their FEV program. The forced evolutionary virus is not something the Vault Dwellers would have expected to exist. However, they not only do go to find themselves in possession of the Enclave's research, they do to find themselves as the subject. The Vault AI has given them information. But the information is highly concerning. But right now we do cut to Deku. Deku's had a week off. He's been able to eat way more than he expected, and he has a full belly for the first time since he's left the vault. He doesn't feel hungry, he doesn't feel starved, and he doesn't feel like he needs to fight for the food he wants to eat. It's just being given to him. He doesn't have his guns, he doesn't have his knives, and he doesn't need to try to think of a way to have a weapon. It's still highly concerning. He's not being pushed, challenged, or sweating. He's just been lazing around his new home with Marcy and Chloe. And from the way they are acting, they're not comfortable with this place either. They have entertained themselves in various ways and played some games. However, listening to the Vault broadcast and even watching some of the cataloged TV things they do have, it's been limiting. They do have the archived Silver Shroud show, along with a few other entertainment ideas that were stored in their records. But that's it. I mean, there's the show about Grognak the Barbarian and how he does face down the Queen of Mars. There's the Unstoppables and how they do have to face off against Dr. Brainstorm. But that's just it. They have all the entertainment programs that they grew up with. that they've heard about, even briefly mentioned. It pales in comparison to the stuff they've witnessed with their own eyes. The ferocity and glory of the wasteland. A place that each step could lead you to your death. As terrifying, as beautiful, as perplexing, as horrendous, as horrifying, as glorious as it could be. Every step is something you should cherish. And now they're just walking in circles. That being one of the thoughts going through Deku's mind. Him laying in bed and thinking about it. He's got a warm, cozy bed and two beautiful women with him. He's got a full belly. He has water in the next room he can drink. And he has safety. This place gives him that measured assurance of no one in the next room wants him dead. They locked that door and stayed in here until they needed to step out. But that's just another concerning thing. People have wanted to speak to him. The only people he's spoken to is his family and even the overseers. Overseer Matthews already talked about wanting to conduct further medical examinations on them. And that's another story. Deku walking out of his room as right now, he does just stand there in pajama bottoms, wondering about what to do. Chloe and Marcy are getting their sleep. None of them are on watch. None of them really need to be on watch. No one needs to be awake and ready, alert in case of danger. And there is the fact that the lights are going to turn on in a few minutes. It's so weird. Life underground doesn't feel natural anymore. He's only been on the surface for a year and a half, given that time. But he's not used to it anymore. It doesn't feel natural. He's more aware of the air purification systems. He's more aware of the amount of waste they have. Him going to pour himself some coffee and going to make his way over to the fridge. They do recycle quite a bit of things. Him pouring out a glass container that is filled to the brim with milk from the cows of their farms. It means quite a lot. Pouring it in and going to step away. Right now, him just going to sit down in his chair, thinking about it. It's something else. Going back up to the surface is a necessity. At some point they will need to. Have to? That's true. It's been a week and he's got to talk to the people who are experimented on. That's got to be his new goal. That can be his new goal. They came back home, but he said he'd be responsible for those people. That's it. That's something he can do. Not just go back into, well, technically he knows more about guns than everyone else. He's seen more makeup and models of guns than they have. That's kind of ironic. He knows more about guns than the people who might be down here, improvised or otherwise. Right. A knocking on his door going to make Deku somewhat tense up and freeze. him going to fully stand up as his chair does somewhat slide back, him making his way towards the front door and beginning to change his hand. And whenever it does begin to crack, elongate, and enlarge, he does go to step forwards. Right now, him going to unlock the door as it does go to slide open. And in front of him does go to stand his sister. And he does stare at her. Her glaring at his eyes before her eyes do to look down at his body. And he does get to pull his hand behind his back. Mia, what are you doing here? I was hoping to talk to you. You guys really haven't been leaving. Her eyes going over the scars on his torso, them falling on the one that lies directly over his kidney and part of his large intestine. And they do just want to stay there for a second as Deku does go to hold his hand behind his back and change his hand back to human, telling her, right, no. They're just trying to get back to being used to things. Sorry, I mean, Mom said you had scars. But look at this. Her raising her hand. And Deku does it to tell her. He can talk more about it another time. Right now, though, he doesn't want to. He's got coffee. There's a few things he actually is a bit curious about. Him turning around, and she does stare at his back, seeing the same scar on his front mirrored on the opposite side. And right now she does nearly gasp out in horror, staring at the tapestry that is her brother's back. There's a burn. There's slash marks. And they do to lie in the middle of his back, spreading out. Things she's not expecting on the back of his arms, and, well, she's concerned. He doesn't seem bothered by them. But she stares on as if it's the most horrific thing she's ever seen. Him sitting back down at the table and gesturing for her to sit down. Her nodding her head and making her way over. Making some coffee and going to sit down. Deku going to bring up his mug and talk about it. So, how's everything been going? With me or with the vault? This is a personal conversation. If I wanted to learn more about the vault, I'd check in with someone important. You are important to me. That's different. I see. Can I ask about the scars? Some of them. Not all of them. There's stories behind them. You're not ready for some of them. Am I? There was once a tribal in a place called Zion National Park. It is a place in Utah. Why were you in Utah? We're getting off topic. That's a story for another time. But in Utah, there's a place called Zion National Park. I helped to fight a war with two different tribes against another one. They were evil. They wanted to help people known as Caesar's Legion. A man who believes in crucifying, enslaving, and ruthlessly slaughtering his enemies, as much as he does his own people. Kaisar is not a good man. This tribe was led by a man named Salt Upon Wounds. He sent a team into the area of Zion to scout things out. His man shot me twice with an anti-material rifle when I was changed, and I took some damage. Had I been shot in a different area, I would have died. But after he did that, I ripped his throat out and I killed him. I don't really know how I did it, actually. I don't remember. Her gonna freeze. The casual delivery of his statement, giving her pause. Afterwards, Marcy stitched me up and we continued our battle. We helped these people fight a war, one they don't think they could have won without us. Zion's a beautiful place. In fact, I'm curious about going back there one day. But that's how I got those scars. The ones on my face and side, I won't tell you about. Not yet. You wouldn't believe me if I did, and the ones on... Never mind. How have you been? I know that since I left, things have been more complicated. Have you gotten married yet? Oh, no. There's a lot going on with the vault's matching parameters. Well, I was supposed to get married. There was the fact that the overseers canceled things months ago. Probably because we sent in a communication. Oh, that does make sense. They had us on standby. I was wondering why. Yeah, that might be it. So, is there anyone in your life you're interested in meeting? I heard that they're supposed to be changing around the vault perimeters. They've talked about that. There is a team currently trying to establish themselves on the surface with the airport, and they're talking with the doctors and coordinating with a lot of staff, but so far they think it'll be some time before that we can go onto the surface. I just can't wait. I mean, it's the surface. It's not what you're expecting, isn't it? You know what it's like. Is Vegas still intact? I heard someone say that it was. It is. The man in charge helped us take back the vault. Mr. House. He operates out of a computer screen. You're making that up. Deku going to stare at her with a deadpan delivery. And she does get to stare at him. Sipping her coffee, which has been sweetened by 3 scoops of sugar. And she does just get to stare at him still. His face not changing in expression, which she is not used to when he cracks a joke. Realizing he may not be. Are you serious? Yeah. Right now the door going to open as there is where Chloe does a step out. Her stretching and going to yawn. Freezing the moment she does see Mia and going to look directly at Deku. Right now, Mia going to see the slash scars on her chest. She is wearing her own set of pajamas. However, some of her scars on her torso are visible, and her eyes would immediately lock onto those. Chloe going to express, so who is this? Oh, is this that? This is my sister, Mia. Chloe. Right. Sorry. Is there enough coffee? There should be. We were just talking about a few things. She doesn't believe what I said about Mr. House. That he's locked in a computer screen and can send out messages across the wasteland? Are you serious? Yeah, no, that is real. As crazy as it does sound. Her looking directly at Chloe. She doesn't know much about the woman, but she has heard about who she is. She has a twin sister, and that's rare inside the vault. She only knows of another handful of times that has happened in the last 200 years. And the fact that she can know her personally is highly interesting. Her going to make her way over and bend down, giving Deku a kiss on the cheek and talking about it. They can have breakfast soon, but if he's gonna make it, then she is going to just sit down and try to relax a little bit in the room. She'll give them their own privacy. Him nodding his head at her as she's a walk away. To which Mia does go to raise an eyebrow. Her walking into the same room that she's assuming is the master bedroom. And she does it to ask. So, other than everything with Mr. House, what is Vegas like? Is it full of tribals? Is it full of savages? Is it full of people who don't know about vault dwellers? Well, at some point, there was tribes who lived there. People survived in Vegas thanks to being inside the casinos. Vegas's missile defense system saved the city. Mr. House built a wall around it, and he did quite a bit of things. Him talking about the Mark II iOS and the story about the tribes of Vegas, along with the fact that one day the Lucky 38 had Mr. House send a Securitron to gamble with the residents of a vault hotel that does sit on the strip. Her completely enamored by her brother's story. Until she does his stand and leave. And Deku, he does just gonna sit there for a minute. Him somewhat smiling at the experience. Peace. That's what he's feeling. He's feeling relaxation. He doesn't have to worry about someone stabbing him for what he says, retaliating, trying to come into conflict with him because he has something that they need. She just wanted to hear his story. And here he was thinking of reaching for the knife. It's a silver knife. It wouldn't have done much. It's not sharp, but with enough force he could... No. Why is he thinking of that? She's not a threat to him. Deku is sitting there for a second, still thinking about it. How easy it could be to take out the enemy. But he does have to remind himself again, that's not an enemy, that's his family. That's his family. She's his younger sister. Her 19th birthday is coming up, and, well, with the vaults and the situation they do to find themselves in, it's going to be getting busy. It's something that's going to be happening. He wonders how things are. Deku going to squeeze down and break his coffee mug. Him looking down and going to somewhat blink himself out of his stupor. He had that thought again. He doesn't... No, he doesn't want to remember those things. Just stay out of his head. Not now. Please, not now. He just wants them to go away. He just wants them to leave him alone. Marcy's been sleeping better. Chloe's been sleeping better, but he's starting to have it catch up with him. Is he gonna break? Is he gonna snap? Is he gonna go feral again? He can't let that happen. No, he won't let that happen. He's going to keep himself together and then keep moving forwards. That's what he has to do. That's what he has to do. Him going to stand and somewhat pull the glass from his hand before he is a clean up and decide to begin making breakfast. There's a lot of things that the day is going to need. And right now, whenever Marcy and Chloe do to wake up, they do to smell the eggs. They do go to smell the Salisbury steaks. And they are hungry. Right now, them both going to come out and eat. And there is when they do begin to get ready for the day. Deku does get to find himself dressing down. He doesn't wear his vault suit. He doesn't wear his training gear. He does get to put on some civilian clothing. Right now, him, well aware of what his request is going to be, he's going to go talk to the overseers again. Hopefully, Overseer Barnett has an opening in his schedule to speak. The man is a hard man to get a good lead on, a good track of, but this is a bit of an emergency. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Him opening his eyes and trying to push the tension away. Right now, him going to step out of the room in some casual clothes, some jeans and a t-shirt. And people, they are making their way through the sector. When Deku does it to get down the hallway and into the elevator, he does it to take it up to the Overseer's administration area. People are running past in their own training groups. And some people do go to give him a quick salute, as even the staff sergeant does give Deku a quick salute. The man freezing in place quickly and going to give it to Deku. Before he does quickly begin running and sprinting past his training team that do go to somewhat laugh and talk about it, since they nearly got bowled over when the man froze in place. But upon seeing him, people do to quickly raise their hands in a salute while they do go to run. Deku going to make his way over to Overseer Barnett's office, hoping that his department, they can call the man. He can have a sit down and talk more about what's been happening. And when he does arrive, he does find the man's personal assistant. Her, right now, sitting at the desk and typing away at her computer quite fiercely about a few things. Her glancing up and beginning to try and express, looking back quickly at her computer. Overseer Barnett is currently busy with quite a few things. She can see about scheduling him later, her turning to a clipboard. But right now, with the wartime protocols being over and serviceable protocols being listed, her sliding it forwards and turning back to her computer. The overseers are all currently trying to figure out how to go about things, especially considering the fact that Overseer McKinney, he currently is talking about a few things with resource management that will go into development, since that's way over her head, but involves stuff with the agricultural division that Overseer Conrad does have authority over, along with bioengineering and a ton of other factors. Some of it might go over their head, but her finally glancing up and making direct eye contact with Deku. Her hand's gonna stiffen and pause. Your, Izuku Midoriya. Is Overseer Barnett available for a conversation? I'd like to have a quick chat. I can go see. Her standing and giving a salute, quickly gonna turn and rush off. Her and her yellow dress gonna somewhat wave off when she does a sprint. And Deku, he does think that those heels are highly inefficient for combat. Before she does a comeback after 5 minutes and go to express. Overseer Barnett is available for a conversation. He's currently in his office and he has set aside some time. Her nodding her head and turning, going to point about how he can go through that door and go to the end of the hallway. His office is there. Him nodding and going to leave. And whenever Deku does a step into the man's office, he does get to sit there. The terminal in front of him, not his main focus. He does get to fully face Deku and stare at him. It a little off to his left and angled from his desk. Him beginning to express. It's quite nice to see Mr. Midoriya. However, he's expecting there to be some sort of reason for this meeting. Yes, sir. I'm coming to you today because I wish to speak to the people who were sent out after my team. The 4-man squad? I see. We can certainly do that, but they're currently still in medbay. As for the others, that is going to be a more delicate matter. They were in Enclave custody for quite a bit of time, and some of them are still cryogenically frozen. I'm not asking for them, sir. I'm asking for the team that came after mine. Right now, I can worry about the people before, later. I see. May I ask why you are so concerned about them? We failed. And they were experimented on because we couldn't get back to the vault in time. I don't know what your council would have done this year if we failed to meet the deadline, but I'm fairly certain it would not have been good. You're correct on this matter. This year's selection process was quite an odd one. There was the vote to skip tradition, to finally break it and reveal about everything that's been going on. There was the idea and likely notion of giving people up to the Enclave, allowing them to be experimented on and by ourselves another year to figure out what to do. That would have likely received significant backlash, especially revealing what we know now after releasing people. It most likely would have, sir. Yes. But with your broadcast given to us, we would be abstinent for what we did the year before. There was a multitude of ideas. I'm sure there was, sir. Yes. Well, it does not explain many of them away. As I said, I told myself I would be responsible for them. I want to meet them and see where they're at. Know they're okay. If I can, just meet them. I know what they've been through, sir. It's a good idea for me to talk to them. That is correct, young man, but we've been going through your vault logs. The AI, it's mentioned gaps. One we are able to understand, another we can't. Do you mind filling me in? Sir, please fill me in. No, I'm not going to. I've given my reports about where we were going before. I've said it, and I will not repeat myself. It is not a place humans should be. Deku, leaning onto the desk as the man does go to stare at him. Him trying his best not to recoil or be afraid. Deku, he got emotional, and that is a bad sign. He got antagonistic, which is a worse sign. And right now, he does a glare at the overseer. The man going to express. Right now, he was asking to clarify the gap in his record. We went to a place that was bad. If he wishes to know more, check the official record. I see. And as for your request, sir, I will say it once and once only. Those people need help. They don't know what the world is like, and right now they've been hurt. So you are the best one to guide them? No, I'm the only one to guide them. Our therapists don't even know what the fuck we're doing. Right now, we're trying to get established in the surface world and figure things out. You want them to try to handle people who have been through torture? Who have been through God knows how many experiments? I don't think they're ready for that, nor well equipped. Yes, you do have the occasional I don't know the term for it anymore. Being stuck down here. That fucking boxed in syndrome. I think that's it. This is different, sir. Being poked, prodded, stabbed, and cut open. It's an experience you don't understand. I do. They understand it. They feel like they're monsters. I'm a monster. I can tell them they're not. Do you really believe so? Yes, sir. They need guidance, and I'd said in my logs I'd be responsible for them. I need to be responsible for them. It's not your fault, young man. Don't you dare try to say that to me right now. I don't want to hear you talk like that. If I approve your request, I will meet it with conditions. Deku going to straighten up a little bit, and the overseer does get a nod, expressing he will be required to go to a mandatory therapy session with someone in the public sector. And that does mean all of them. The people who are going to be subordinate to him, along with his lovers, his wives. He thinks it's a better fitting term. Now, his subordinates are going to be his responsibility. Yes, he will be responsible for them. And yes, he is expecting a lot to be done. He does want weekly reports on their conditions. And while he is going to be given a little bit of a loose leash to go on, he is going to be required to report directly to him. He wants to know what's going through their minds. And if he does hear about any sort of incidents inside the vault happening, he does want to know about it before things get out of control. Otherwise, they will be his responsibility to handle. Yes, sir. I do mean that, Mr. Midoriya. I don't fully understand what you've been through. I will trust your judgment. It has saved us all. But if I do believe that it is going to doom us all, then I will refute my right of your choices. You will have to make them yourself. And if I do believe that you have made the bad call, I will have you incarcerated or banished from this vault. Do I make myself clear, young man? You do, Overseer. May I ask about the ones who have been cryogenically frozen? Or do they factor in? You may get more leeway. They may require a different approach that we are unfamiliar with currently. When we do have the chance, we'll see about unfreezing them. Going categorized based on their year. Afterwards, we'll see what we can do then. See who might be willing and who may be too dangerous. We'll look on records. That's currently what we do have a division sectioned on doing. The medical staff, including your mother, are on that assignment. Now, I will currently send a message out to them, and you are going to meet them. Do I make myself clear, young man? Yes, sir. Him going to stand and salute Izuku. Before Deku does stand himself and salute his superior. Him going to turn and leave. And the older man, he does have his own reservations about this idea. But the boy does make his own points. They don't know what the Enclave has done to them. Someone who's been in their shoes, has had their experiences and more, certainly does meet those requirements. Him going to scroll through the logs, he does get to see. Him clicking on one and beginning to listen to it. It currently from Deku's personal audio logs. Now, Deku, he does head down the corridor. And he does find an empty room that he was told they would be meeting in. And the people from Medbay, they do get to gather in. Him turning and going to see a woman who does go to nod her head and express telepathically about how he must be Mr. Midoriya. Deku nodding his head and giving her a raised eyebrow. Her turning and expressing about how these are the others. Deku seeing a woman gonna walk in. Right now, him staring at her as she does have a bit of a tail on her. Her ears being completely distinct but reminding him of Chloe's. Before another person is to step into the room. Him reptilian. However, his eyes do give away the gecko that might have been spliced into his DNA. And the third person is to step into the room, they do have their head downcast. However, with the way that their expression does look, Deku can understand it. Especially when he does see the horns protruding from their head. And right now, the man does look up. His eyes going to meet Deku's as the two make direct eye contact. And he does his own stare on in surprise. Before Deku does sit there and begin to express. about how he wanted to meet with all of them. They've got quite a bit of things to discuss and go over. But until they are all acquainted properly, they may call him Mr. Midoriya. While that is his father's title as the head of security, Izuku would also suffice. But he does want to open the conversation with a story, one he's sure they're all quite familiar with. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.